future, but it feels too good to look the other way. And way too hard to ignore this stag inside me. He stands
Welcome to
upright.
Keep Your Head Up Hockey. I'm your host, Jamie, and we got J Dog in the house from Dominican. J Dog, how's it going on the
Anger,
island, my friend?
anger, nothing but anger.
Well, we'll get with it. Man, I got to say, you know what? This team's supposed to be about pride, honor, and, courage. And there was none of that. There is absolutely zero of that in that game last night when they lost 4-0. And I got to say, man, I've had enough with this core four not showing up in the playoffs, man. Like, what the fuck? Like we play so well and we get the Atlantic Division. We win that. And what do? We get 3 games up on Ottawa. And now we're going into game 6, and I'm scared. I'm ready to be hurt again, man. And then I don't want to be.
Starts with the captain and the core four, except for Johnny T. And you might as well call it the core five now because Nyes is definitely the best player of that group. All around, he's got probably the best all around game, and he's probably the only one that showed up for pretty much every game. Defensive core was not great. Lots of giveaways, lots of bad passes, very slow getting out of their own end, not having any urgency whatsoever. It starts from the captain though, and I'll be honest with you, he's not Canadian. I think that it should always be a Canadian captaining a Canadian team. I've always thought that you want to have Americans captaining American teams, you go right ahead. Don't care even if Sidney Crosby's your captain or is not your captain. The leadership that a guy like that's going to show, it's just like JT. You don't need to have the captaincy on you to be the leader, but it's enough is enough. We just it's the same thing over and over and over again. You get it's a new team every year. So it's a stupid analogy to say, oh, it's the same thing every year. But it is the same fucking thing every year. And why? Like the pressure, I understand it, but there's at some point you got to care more about what's on the front of the shirt than you do on the back. And these guys are not the core four. Okay, the core three that I'm talking about are not showing it. Marner showed up for the first 3 games. You can't take anything away from him. He was playing really well. But the other night, I mean, this is a total lapse. It's embarrassing. I still don't think they're going to lose, but to go through this all the time, and you get the same shit from everybody else. As a fan, it's very disheartening.
I grew up being a Leaf fan. But you know what else I grew up with? I grew up with all you other fans of all the other teams making fun of the team I love because of how we do in the playoffs. Are we choke artists? Absolutely. Do I think that they're going to do it again? Maybe. I can't trust this team. There's no trust for the fans and the players because we just haven't seen any production past the second round since I was a kid. And I'm 41. I've had enough of this team not showing up. How the fuck did Austin Matthews miss on that breakaway or that 2-on-1? How? Because I can tell you right now, I'm a fat guy. I'm out of shape. But when I'm outside in the driveway shooting pucks with my son, I can ding it off the left post numerous times. Why can't he? He's getting paid millions of dollars. Because what? No heart. Because you want the paycheck rather than the glory of lifting the cup. I don't get it. I really don't get it. This team has got everything that it needs to be successful, yet they're not showing up. And it's this guy right here. As soon as he got the C, look at his game. Yeah, maybe he might be hurt, Jay. But I'm telling you right now, since he's got that C, he hasn't been the same guy as last year. Last year, he was unstoppable. This guy was a beast, but not in the playoffs. But at least he was showing up. Man, where was he last night, man? I just don't get it.
No idea. I'm just angry. and listening to the crap from from the Ottawa fans and seeing it online. And that was my next comment. Nylander, you're born in Canada. Yes, you played for Sweden, but you think you'd have a little bit more pride. But again, he plays for Sweden, so we already know he'd be the best player on Sweden or the top 2 or 3. And that's why he plays for Sweden, because he wants personal glory, not team glory. So that's why he'll never win anything. I don't think. This team's he's going to have to go to another team if he's going to win something. Because if this team plays like this again tonight, they're never winning anything ever again. They might win games, but they're never going to win a title. They're never going to win a division championship. They're definitely not going to win the Stanley Cup. So I don't see this team as a Stanley Cup contender anymore at all. I thought I did, and I was wrong. There's no doubt about it. And even if they won this year, I would still I'd eat my words, obviously, but you just get tired of it. Like, it's the same thing. It's depressing, man. It's depressing. There's a lot of bad things going on in this world, and this is one of the only things that you can kind of cheer for and feel good about right now is your sports team. But
Valley fan.
at the end of the day, I think that we're going to have to change our name to something else to do with the Winnipeg Jets or something. I don't know. I'm getting that disheartened.
I called it last year. I said I wanted this guy off my hockey team for good reason. He is not a complete player. He wants goals. He wants breakaways. Breakaway Willie, but no back check Willie, that's for sure. Last night, ridiculous that he didn't back check on that goal, and that was the deciding goal of the game. And he doesn't want to back check and play his position. Get him off my team, trade him, and get as much as we can for him as a Leaf team, because really his heart ain't in it. He doesn't care. And for anyone to say, "Oh yeah, he was tired at the end of the shift," he's a pro athlete. He should be able to skate for 3 hours straight. And if not, maybe not take your summer vacation and work on your agility, because you get paid millions of dollars to play a sport for a team that their fans are just begging for some playoff performance, begging for a 3rd round berth, begging to not get embarrassed by Ottawa by being up 3-0 of all teams, Ottawa. Like, I didn't care. If it was Montreal, I'd be like, okay, well, it's Montreal. It's fucking Ottawa.
Well,
It is pathetic.
I'll say this: Nylander's not playing well right now. Obviously, he's been invisible. But during the regular season, this guy's been he was lights out this year. You can't take that away from him. And he played both ends of the rink for most of the season. That's what's so disheartening. That's the crazy part. Like, why are you scared to get hit? He can hit. I've seen him throw body checks, and he's super strong on his skates. It makes no sense. I don't know. Let's move on. I don't even want to talk about him anymore.
Berube was brought in to make a difference on this team. And I've got to say, man, get the whip out if you haven't as of yet. Be hucking pucks like the stories that I used to hear about Patty Burns, after a playoff loss, going into the room and start hucking pucks to players. That's maybe what it'll take to shake this team and wake them up. We've got a great hockey team that's not performing the way that we should. And, sometimes it's the leadership, but also sometimes it's the coaching. Keefe was too soft. Well, you bring in Berube, and I don't know if you've ever seen Berube's face, but that guy is a ugly, mean-looking bastard. I would not want to piss this guy off. And if he's not enough motivation for this team, then maybe I should cheer for another team.
Yeah, nothing is. If this guy can't motivate him, nobody can. And he's a very cerebral coach, which is what gets me, because he doesn't have to be. He can be just mean, but he brings a lot to the table. This guy has studied hockey for a long time. And like he said, he says, I sat on the bench a lot, man. He says, I really watched the game and learned a lot. Hence why he's a good coach. He listened, he always listened. And he wasn't the most natural talented player, but he actually wasn't a bad player either. Like he wasn't that bad of a player. And what gets me is, like you get the league is so political when it comes to players. I had a friend, which, we're trying to get on the show, Sean Antosky. This guy would have been the fastest guy in the NHL. Not a joke. He was incredibly fast, 6'4" or 6'5", 260. And, he played in the league for quite a while. I think he was 7 or 8 years as a fighter. That's pretty good. But that's the problem. He was actually a better hockey player than he was a fighter. But they used him in the wrong way. Similar to this guy, I think he probably could have been a much better hockey player than he was shown as, and wasn't given a lot of chances. And the league gets political and ends up doing stupid things like taking the C from Johnny T. And, like that, it's all about the show as opposed to the actual game itself. There's games within the game that they're playing that actually don't make any fucking sense. You're seeing it in a lot of the leagues now, the NFL, soccer, anything, MLS. It's all this political bullshit that, tries to make a team have this point of view, or not point of view, but this view of what the fans see. And now everything's so politically correct. You can't yell at the kids like you used to. You can't give them shit like you used to. You can't chuck pucks. You can't go in and kick garbage cans like I used to do, break sticks and shit like that. Like it's so the kids are not tough mentally these days. They can't handle that kind of thing. They're going to end up with PTSD if you break a stick in front of them or chuck a puck at them. It's ridiculous. So that's the problem with these guys. There's no mental fortitude, no intestinal fortitude. There's no, like, the hockey IQ for individualism is incredible. You get a guy like Marner, who does have, it's team hockey IQ. He can see everything on the ice. Very good that way. But Nylander is for himself. He can skate. He can pass. He can shoot. He can do all these things, but he focuses on what I'm doing, not what everybody else is doing. And it's the same thing with Matthews. Matthews is a prolific passer. He's one of the best passers in the league. If he's not feeling comfortable, why shoot that puck? So this is things that the coach has to talk to them about. And if he doesn't bring these things to light, then obviously there's something wrong. I guarantee he is. And I guarantee he's ripping them. But you got to show that to the fans too, because you're going to lose your fucking job if you don't show that everybody knows now it's the players and it's not the coach. Like we've gone through 3 coaches over the last whatever amount of years, 10 years, 3 coaches. Come on, wake the fuck up. There's no way that this is the coach's fault. The coach is always the first one to fall, and it's all bullshit. These guys are fucking spineless. That's the problem.
Well, Riley brings in this great, idea for with the belt this year, and I thought it was great. Obviously the Jays do it when they hit a home run. Vladdy introduced that as well with their jacket, and I thought it was a great, team building thing. And over the year, I saw these pictures after the game of them celebrating as a team on these, great efforts. Player of the game, or he had an outstanding effort, or he made an amazing play. He gets the belt for the day. Honor, pride, courage, Toronto Maple Leafs. I'm not seeing that honor, pride, and courage right now. I'm seeing choke, 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 and I'm hearing Ottawa fans laugh, 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 and I've had enough. Where's the honor? Where's the pride? Where's the courage? Where's the passion, the grit, like I was talking about the other night, the determination? Where is the urgency, Leaf fans? We need it out of this team. And, they're going to lose 2 fans. If we lose to Ottawa, I'm done as a Leaf fan, by far. I've had enough. I love this team, but it's like somebody you really, really love. You know what I mean? If you can't trust them anymore, how can you truly love them? And my trust with this team, 0. And I really feel like I'm gonna get let down again, like I'm gonna get hurt again, Jay. And this one's gonna hurt big time.
Well, it's gonna hurt because I think we're both done. If they don't make it out of this round, I think we're both done. And that's a sad thing to say, and a lot of people say, well, that's you're not really a fan. You'll get some Leafs. You know what? I'm 55 years old. Most people that are going to say that, they've only been fans for maybe 10 or 15 years. I've been a fan since I was 3 years
Correct.
old when I started watching hockey on my own. And, you know, I believe it or not, I don't like saying this out loud, but when I was a kid, I cheered for Montreal and Toronto because both teams were on you know, CBC or CTV or whatever it was back then. And I cheered for both teams. And back then, you know, they, like, let's face it, the Montreal teams were phenomenal back then with, you know, my favorite players like Steve Shutt and Larry Robinson and you know, and Guy Lafleur and those guys. Like, you know, those are, you know, iconic players. And you could see why somebody could actually cheer for a team like that, you know. And what gets me is, you know, Toronto had mediocre at best teams at that time. They were good, but they, you know, back, you know, we're going ways back here with Salming, and we had great players, but we never had a great team. Like, you know, it was unfortunate. Sittler and you know, back, you know, later on Clark and stuff like that. But, you know, those guys. But I'm going back even further, you know, Ian Turnbull and guys like that, and Salming and whatever. But these guys, I'm telling you, I'm very disappointed that they just don't show anything. They're like fucking robots. They're like zombies. They don't.
Emotionless.
And it's like, whatever. It's whatever. You know, everything's whatever. You know, they got that whatever attitude. You know, and don't look at me. It's not all my fault. You know that. There's nobody going. You hear them go, oh yeah, well that's on me. I did that. Well, it means nothing though. You don't see them fucking like upset about it. You know, they don't. They just like, yeah, that's on me. It's not. Don't blame them. That's my fault. Whatever. Well, anybody can just say that and do that. You know, whatever. Go through the motions. There's no meaning to it. You don't see that they're actually upset.
So this is what Marner said after the game, quote for quote. It's not supposed to be easy. We knew it was going to be a challenge. We knew it wasn't going to be easy. They pushed back the last 2 games. Now we've got to go into their building and play our best game. Damn right, you got to play your best game. Maybe you just got to fucking show up, Marner, because you're one of the best players in the league. And if you honestly show up and honestly care and honestly put in a full effort, maybe I will agree with you there, because you haven't shown up, man. You have never shown up in the playoffs, especially in games that matter, in games to close the series. You know what your stat is? I think over 15 or 17 games, 0 fucking goals, Marner. 0 goals. So, you know what? He's got to wake up. Yeah, it's not going to be easy, but you know what? It should have been easier, you know, than this. You know, up 3-0 against Ottawa. And it's Ottawa of all teams. Wake up, smell the roses, grab a coffee, do what you got to do, but you got to show up in Canada tonight. Because I tell you right now, if the Leafs lose this one, Jay, they ain't winning no fucking Game 7.
Yeah, I don't think they will either. I don't know. You know, I don't know. It doesn't seem right. Now, in saying that, in the playoffs, it's highly unlikely you're going to win 4 straight. But I mean, if you win 3 straight, I guess you can win 4 straight, right? You know, so it's just, you know, that 3-1 lead, 3-0, then 3-1. You know, it's just like that in the regular game. You know, they've always lost. You know, it's that you know the deal. I don't even need to go into it. Anyway, I'm getting a little bit frustrated. There's no question, but I think it's time that they actually show something, and they need to win tonight, not Game 7. As much as it's nice to win in your home rink, you need the rest. You know, you're going to need the rest because playing, you know, the Florida teams.
Florida.
Sorry, they're a beast. You know, they're physical, they're tough, they're mean, they're nasty, and this type of play they're on you like just fast. You don't have time to make decisions. And they're just going all 4 lines. They're a solid team from top to bottom, you know. And there's, you know, Barkey's like, you know, he's Barkey's Barkey. You know, Bennett is Bennett, and you're gonna get. And now they got the Rat on there. I mean, they've got leadership galore. They've got heart galore.
Tough.
They've got the best goalie in the league, as far as I'm concerned. You know, in the playoffs, he hasn't been as good as Stolarz up until the other night, and then he showed who he is again. Bobrovsky was Bob again, and man, some of the saves he was making was insane. He's playoff Bob, you know, and he's back. So there's going to be no matter who plays Florida, there's going to be no easy wins. And if you're not going to be firing on all four cylinders at 60 minutes a game, you're not going to win. So no matter what happens, they're going to have to do a lot more.
All right, let's bring the keys to success for tonight's game. Game 6 in Canada, Jay. I know you've had a lot of coaching. You've watched a lot of hockey. I've coached, I've watched, I've played. And I got to say, there's a few things that they've got to do that we've already talked about. But what would be your big message if you were Berube in that dressing room? What would you say to this team to pump them up for the keys to success, to push them through and get on to round 2? What would you say to this team?
Well, I'd say nothing else has worked at this point, so I'd start using their heart and picking at it a little bit and say, listen, you know what? This is what your mom and dad went through hundreds of thousands of dollars to get to this point. Is this what you want to do? You want to disappoint your parents? You want to disappoint your families? You want to disappoint the fans? Never mind the fans. You want to disappoint, everybody, because there's nothing worse than walking up to your dad after you've done something and you know that you could have done better. And when he says, did you give your best effort? And you can't answer him or look him straight in the eye. That's where I'd be going with this. I'd be saying your legacy is finished after this. If you do not, your parents will never think that you're a winner. Your parents will never think you're a winner. That's the way I go with this.
I love that. I love that. You know what? I don't even want to comment. I think that's absolutely perfect. I hope that Berube brings that to his message before the team in Game 6 in Canada, Canadian Tire Center. A huge game coming up. Predictions, it's going to be a coin flip. It really is. It's going to be a close one. It's going to be a rough one. It's going to be nasty. I'm giving it, I got to say, because I'm a Leaf fan, 2-1 in overtime. It's going to be double OT tonight. It's going to be double OT, 2-1 overtime. It's going to be Tavares who scores. What's your prediction, Jay?
Unfortunately, I have two. I know that I'm not showing any balls here, and because I have two thoughts in my head. It's either going to be a 3-1, 3-2 game for Ottawa, and possibly overtime, or it's going to be a rout. It's going to be another, like the first game. It'll be like a 6-2 for the Leafs. I've got both in my head. I think that we're not the only ones that are giving it to these guys. I went through TikTok the other day and this morning and yesterday, and wow, there's people just screaming at their TikTok videos. I don't want to go home crying again. Fuck, I'm going home tonight. One guy I saw on the subway going, I am on my way home to cry. He's just I can't do this anymore. And he's in the same boat as we are, the emotions. And here's the crazy part is that 99% of us that all say that we're not going to watch this team next year are still going to watch this team next year, but it's just it just gets to a point where you're just like, what the fuck? So anyway, I will say, yeah, I think I'm kind of hoping it's going to be like a 5 or 6 goal difference for Toronto. And Stolarz, I think, will be the story. He's we didn't talk about him today, and we you didn't notice him in the game that much, but honestly, that game could have been a 6-2, or 6-0. Well, it could have been 6-2. I'd say the Ottawa goalie made some really good saves. Yeah, and it could have been a different game. There's no doubt. As far as the score was concerned, I don't mean that Toronto would have won. I just mean that it could have been worse. And if it wasn't for their goalie playing so well, Ullmark played very well. He's starting to show why he was a Vezina Trophy winner. So that's good. I mean, good for them. But I hope to hell that Stolarz makes them look bad tonight.
You know what? He really has been the captain of this team. I gotta say, I wish the goalies could be captains because he plays like a captain. He's been a leader since the moment he's got the chance to play. He has been really our leader throughout the whole season, and not carrying this team, but he's been sometimes he has. And I think that he's going to be a big reason as to why they win tonight. And I really hope that they do, because you know what? I love being a Leaf fan. Even though I get all the hate and it's been a long wait. Maybe this year, maybe the chance that we have to get by. It's what I am as a Leaf fan. Keep hoping, I guess. But
Well,
we can keep hoping, man. We can keep
Yeah.
hoping. But we're having a tough time with Ottawa. I just don't want to lose to Ottawa, so I hope that we win in Canada. But anyway, we'll wrap it up. Thanks so much for being a part of Keep Your Head Up Hockey. We appreciate you watching our shows, and we'll be here to cheer on the Leafs and to do your pre-games moving forward. We'll see you next time. I'm Jamie. That's J-Nog. Keep your head up. Go Leafs, go!